Okay, we are live. Now to take a look at what we're looking at. No, not that. There we are. Just waiting for this to come up so I can actually see what I'm doing. Test my mic because I can't do it here. Still having trouble working with a camera that is apparently non-existent. And that answers that question. So, now that we know we're recording, and we are closed, this is good. Anyway, figured I would get things started. Turns out this works reasonably well. Assuming I'm actually up and functional, I just can't say for certain that I will be live, so we'll see what happens. As people get used to the idea I'm here, I think what I'll do here is this. We go into this one, and we just go. All I'm doing is letting people know on the different multimedia right now that I am live. There we go. I'm live on YouTube now. Where are we here? There we go. This way I can just let the different social media places I have know right off the bat. Am I expecting a whole lot of company? Honestly, not really. But the reality is, what I'm looking at today is focusing. You know, how important is it and what do you do with it? So there we go. That's the one. Now we go into LinkedIn and Twitter and do exactly the same thing. LinkedIn is not a hot link at this point. Well, actually, it should be. Mind you, it would seem I did not do that. So, nope. One of these days I should remember to do that. But for the moment, let's do this. LinkedIn. And by doing that, we go, no pending invitation. It's not surprising. So what do we got here? Well, thank you. Now we go to home and see what we're standing on. No. What are we looking at here? Start a post, that's the easy part. LinkedIn, just let people know. And I figure, you know, the more streamlined I can get. Whoop, didn't want to do that. Forgot to copy it. So, we just retype it. I am live on YouTube now. Okay, now we highlight that, copy that, and that way when I go to do Twitter, I'm good. There we go. And now I just go to Twitter and do the exact same thing. Only, well, not the exact same thing, because this time, Chris, how you doing? Just figured I'd get started. I've had to really sort things around and get my focus down properly. But I figure I still am working with a camera that the computer says doesn't exist. But as you can see, there's a discrepancy between me and the computer. So I'm just letting right now, because there's a discrepancy here, I'm just looking at it going, okay, let's just let people know I'm actually here and see what happens. And just let them know I've gone live. There we go. See if that works a little better. Joe, good morning. Now, how did you get your coffee before you woke up? I had to make mine up. Actually, I had to warm mine up after I got up. No, I came to the conclusion, I am a very, very small fish where it comes to business. Where it comes to life, I've got a year or two. Some of you guys are certainly older than I am. But I've got to focus on a couple of things. One of the biggest tricks that I have recently come to realize is that when you're looking at going at running business or accomplishing anything, in my case, the writing is absolutely crucial from my standpoint. That is one of my three big goals at this point. Like I said yesterday, my three big goals at this point are getting my other half across the border so frankly we can get married. And to me, that's a very important thing. Theoretically to her, since she's the one that brought it up in the first place. Second one is getting the Yldrbac Chronicles written. Now, where it comes to writing them, that's great. I'm just starting to go through and find out how much money I've actually already spent on writing. Because so far I haven't made anywhere near a replacement amount. But I'm starting to track that down. But the thing I did discover was this. If you're a small fish, and this doesn't matter who you are, if you're a small fish and you're dealing with somebody with a major corporation, what you'll find is, what I've found anyway, is that they do not really care one way or the other. They really don't. Once people get to a certain size, so do I. Every Friday I go down and get it. More to the point, every Friday I go down to one restaurant. Morning Wallet Moth. Apparently that worked. Letting people know I'm here. And that is, again, the issue. But regardless of what you're doing, regardless of how big a person you are, and I don't mean physically, but good point. I just happened to be up a little early. But regardless of how big a person, how big an individual you are in a given society, you've got to carry yourself as though you're bigger than they are and that you don't require them. And this has been proven time and again. Okay, I've got to, after I get done this, and I'll be here, my goal right now is to be here for the next 2 hours. But understand, this is the way my office works. Okay. I am having to go through things, and where is that? That's not what I need. See, I'm still old school, so paper and pen works quite nicely for me. This sheet here can go, that's a scratch of paper, as it were, because of the fact I don't require it. This is for the corporate superstructure. Now, you can look at yourself. I've looked at documentation in the past where the basic reality or the basic claim is that if you are, as an individual, according to the way the law is set up, apparently an individual is a corporation to start with the added advantage of you don't have a board of directors telling you what you can and can't do. And much more importantly, you've got a board of directors. You don't have a board of directors that can take your company from you. Okay. And this is my one objection to even looking at a board of directors. I am, however, and let's go back to that first thing. Bringing my other half across the border to marry her is absolutely a critical priority for me. Getting the Yldrbac Chronicles written is a goal for me personally. Whether they ever see the light of day on the major market anymore, really, do I desire it? Certainly. But thus far, virtually every company that I've dealt with, every company I've dealt with that is a major corporation, all but one have absolutely dropped the ball. Okay. Now, I could list off, locally there's a number of them. But when I take a look at the website builder I've got, they are either right on top of the ball or they're really good at playing the game. Either way. Okay, the company that was handling my marketing has absolutely dropped the ball entirely. Because when I look at this, I sent a message to them, okay, back on July 13th of this year. I sent a message to them and I called them the same day and said, look, this is an urgent screw up. Give me a call. I have yet to hear from them. Oh, that must have been enjoyable. Fireflies are a wonderful thing to watch. They're just fascinating as all get out, aren't they, Joe? I don't actually have them in my neighborhood. Of course, I'm in a solid urban core. But I do remember seeing them when I was growing up on the island. You know, it's the one thing about living in the urban core that doesn't impress me. But no, I can't. That's the two, and the third one is something I've recently looked at. Okay, well, no, the third one not looked at. The third one that is a big issue is building a network to build an actual empire that puts people as a priority. Now, one of the things I was talking that I've got my executive assistant looking into is how to go about legally setting up a situation where if people desire to donate to my charity side of what I'm doing. And by the way, the charity side of what I'm doing right now, where did I put it? Right here. In this corporate superstructure. Now understand, I've said what it costs to run my business is $500. Okay. Everything over 500 at this point until my cost running the business climbs. Everything over 500, okay, 10% of that will go to charity. And the reality of it is I will not be donating to a registered charity or to a church, because they both take the majority of that money goes from the charity to run the organization. In my case, when I talk about the charity work, I won't be handing out tax forms, so people can get a tax break for making a donation. That ain't the way it's going to work. But 100% of what is going into the charity side of it, which is 10% of everything over 500, okay, will be going directly to helping other people. Now, this may be helping, buying somebody food that happens to be on the street. It could be buying somebody food in a restaurant. Might be buying somebody groceries in a grocery store. We're talking small amounts, yes. Okay, I'm not going to be able to, on my own, make massive shifts. Okay. Oh, forgot to put, where are we? Oh, that's why. There we are. I'm not going. Yeah, but they'd have to be real small people, wouldn't it? Wouldn't they, there, Joe? But yeah, I agree with you. Especially if you look at it from the standpoint of looking down on a community and seeing all these little lights wandering around. The thing is, see, what you've got there is a beautiful situation where you don't require technology to see something really exciting and really enjoyable. Okay, and this is what people have forgotten. Fortunately, you're not one of those people. But I've looked at it and gone, okay, if I'm going to run a charity, the cost of running it is going to come out of my own business operations. Okay, because if I buy somebody food, 100% of what I'm handing them is going to them. Will I likely be giving people money? Probably not. Okay, because there's no guarantee that money is not going to go to something useless. However, if somebody is looking for food, okay, and you buy them food, it went into food. The only question I ask people when I go to buy them food is, are you allergic to anything? If the answer is no, then I go with that. Okay, but I've got my executive working and looking into it. A couple of things I have decided I will never do. One, I will never, and this one I do mean literally never, I will never run a nonprofit organization because the hint is in the name. No profit. Well, guess what? I ain't working that way. Okay. With the empire I'm building at this point, I won't have a board of directors. I will certainly take on a board of advisors, but I'm in the middle of building policies and what have you to say this is exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how I'm doing it. But here's the kicker with focus, which, as you can tell, I'm not exactly as focused as I'd like to be, but I'll get there. That's the stuff I have to get done. What is this? Oh, okay. This is stuff I don't require. And, oh yeah, that's the other stuff. That's the information I need to deal with the so-called publishing company or distribution company I was working with. Okay, that is research for her. Yeah, what I'm doing is looking at paperwork that I do not require. Not anymore, anyway. And this information is all garbage. Is there anything critical there? Nope. Well, that was a nice noise, wasn't it? As we can tell, slowly but surely we're getting things organized. Oh, yes. This little list that I've got here is really critical in making certain things happen. Now, the funny thing about it is the reason I'm doing this, by the way, and yeah, it's a little bit of a different approach, but that's because I figured I wasn't making a lot of headway. You know, I have a subscription following? Absolutely. And if you like the videos, absolutely give me a thumbs up. You know, subscribe to the channel because I do desire to get a lot of things running at the same time. There's a lot of information that has to come out, and people have to start realizing that, frankly, working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. You know, the reality is, though, it's going to take each of our focused efforts. Now, I've got a couple of things I've got to deal with here. Not the least of which is these are actually business cards I got when I was away on my reunion of different authors and what have you that it's time to start reaching out to. But get an idea in your head of what you personally are seeking. Okay. Now this is stuff that's got to be filed, but that's okay. I will deal with it after I get offline, simply because I don't feel like standing up that long. The neat part about it, and that just dawned on me. Let's see, if we open up, that one we can close because we don't require it now. So that particular form or document can be closed. Now, this one, on the other hand, go to here and see what I'm looking at is I've got to go through, and this is a rather critical issue from my standpoint. Where is it? It's over there. Okay. So we go into here, into my file here, and we go the Races of the World form, and we go into the body of volume 1 because I've got to get it organized. Now let's see what we got here. What I'm looking at, where is it? showed this to you the other day. Row. There we go. Okay. Here's the neat thing. I just finished taking I play D&D as well. Okay, and I've just started a new campaign for the people I game with. Right. And this, hopefully this is in here. Where did I put that in the back? Yep. In D&D. Okay, now these are the Muldocs I deal with. Okay, and this is why I say everything is contained. Everything is interconnected. But what I've done is I literally have built a campaign where the characters start off in a petri dish. Okay, at the hands of the Muldocs. And this works out really well. Because what I've done now is while I've designed that, I don't need that. I got that one open. I need this one open. No, I don't. Because I'm not working on that for the moment. Okay, so that can close. I have a tendency of having way too many things open on occasion. But when I say it's all interconnected, and I can't show you right now, but over on my painting station, I've got the little figures I work with. I've got them set up in a formation so I can actually write, so I can keep track of what the body count is. I'm going into a battle of 15 to 1. Okay. Hand-to-hand combat. And, well, let's face it, the one is just a little testy. This can go back where it belongs before I lose it. Okay. Cool. There we are. One of the biggest things in making certain the energy in your house is running properly is figure out what you're content with and what you're not content with. In my case, not happy with the progress I'm making, but here's the thing. The number of times I've talked to a corporation and had them absolutely drop the ball is amazing. Now, the t-shirt I'm wearing, quite frankly, it happens to be in support of a young lass that has sunk 10 years of her life into attaining her goal. Now, like I told her, because she's going, no, you've done enough already. Probably. But the reality of it is, for me, this is simply something I have desired to do for a long time. Find somebody that I believed was absolutely set on attaining a goal. Okay, and help them where I can. Now, I am not overly wealthy. As a matter of fact, I'm not wealthy at all. Okay, not in my eyes. However, I do have a roof over my head. Okay, so what I'm looking at this point is going, okay, how can I help her? And like I said, like I told her, look, you require assistance, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, right? Or whether it's hard for you to accept it. Okay. I only follow 3 laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. With this in mind, okay, I'm looking at this going, this is my folder to really start making headway and working out where I fit in this world, but not where other people think I fit. I'm not a big fish. I feel very much like a chihuahua going up against a chihuahua going up against a timber wolf, standing there going, hey, pay attention. Okay, I'm not a big person, but what I'm building and what I'm aiming at building and will therefore succeed is building an empire where the people I'm dealing with matter. Okay, where you're not just a number. So when I go reach out to help people, if I'm doing it for charity, I'm not taking any money out of my charity fund to go and to handle the administration. That will come straight out of my business. Okay. So from that end, I did. It's right here. From that end, if you're in my opinion, if you're going to put something up and call it charity, you're not doing it with extra expenses in mind. The charity money, the money that comes in as donations. Good morning, Angels of Life. How are you? If you're going to run a charity, then do not take money out of the donations to run the administration side, which is something I flat out refuse to do. That is why I take the money out of net profit. Now, here's something I will tell you point blank. Okay, I've got to set the fund up myself. In other words, set up the tracking system. And since I will not be handing out tax receipts. I won't even be handing out receipts to people. Okay, but I will put it this way, because there's nothing, as near as I can figure, there is nothing stopping anybody from going, here, can you put this towards the work you're doing? Now, I will never have a board of directors. I will take on a board of advisors when I find that they're on the same page I am. But understand, something that and I told this to the company that was supposed to be handling my books. Okay, I will do things my way. It's that simple. It's not when I talk about it being a community effort, it is. But where it comes to my business, my life, there is no discussion about whether or not it should be done somebody else's way. It won't be. I may not have everything perfect. As a matter of fact, I'll virtually guarantee I won't. Because from my standpoint, I've got a very simple vision in mind. And this means in order to make that happen, people talk about pyramid schemes and, they're bad. Okay. But what they don't realize, what people seem to overlook, is that the entirety of life is built on a pyramid. Okay. Somebody has to be at the top to guide what's going on, not to control. So if people end up, I still work with PayPal, right, where it comes to purchases and what have you. And that's why I now have the website up. I've got a website up, rkeithandrews.com, where it'll tell you what the books are. It tells you what the cost of shipping is that's included in the price for Canada and the continental US. Okay. But what I have come to realize is that if anybody decides they desire to send money to me to work towards charity, and here's what I'm looking at. Okay, I won't be going after helping. I'm not planning on helping people. Oh, I could really use a new washing machine. I don't require it, but I could really use one. That's great. I'm not in that business. I'm in the business of helping people. I've got the interest in helping people that are absolutely having trouble. More often than not, this will be the working poor. The people that are out there putting the effort into making their life better, putting the effort into taking care of their homes, and are just behind the 8 ball. Now, there is one lass that I know of in town here. She sits outside the grocery store, asking for spare change. Now, understand, when I find somebody out on the street, I will ask them what put them there. In this person's case, and I've known her for years, she is on medical disability. But medical disability up here does not cover expenses. I think she's getting something like $600 a month for medical disability to cover rent, food, utilities. Good luck. Okay, you're just not getting it. Even with subsidized housing, you're not making it. Okay, not the way that they'd like you to. It was funny. We had funny in a really sad sort of way. We had a politician up here that decided, I'm going to live on what the people on social assistance live on. I'm going to live on that for a month, just to see what it is, to prove that they've got enough. Well, he lasted a week, and he went back. He goes, I'm going back to my own way of life. These guys have enough money. Now, that might give you an idea. Now, in my case, I've already overextended myself here trying to help people and not paying close attention to absolute guidelines. So what I'm doing now is this little sheet and this little note I'm making for myself, is for the building of the empire. And yes, I'm going to call it an empire, which may sound really egocentric, but here's the thing. I was always taught, if you're going to do something, aim for the stars. You may only get to the moon, but you're still above where you were. And this is why when I take a look at my finances at the beginning of the month, I go, here's what my bank accounts and my tracked accounts look like. If at the end of the month I am 1 penny, or if at the end of the month you are 1 penny above what you were, you're heading in the right direction. Now, I recommend aiming a little higher than that, but what the heck? Okay, so what I'm working on right here is marking out the net profit side of the actual percentage that I'm going to run Inner Voice Enterprises on as far as profit sharing goes. Now, it cost me $500 when I worked out. I've got to rework the numbers here because I did something a little funny there. But once I hit that break point, then everything over that will be split up in the profit sharing process. Okay, now I'm not taking, what I'm doing is only going at the 50%, maybe 75 when I get done with it. Okay, now, so I've got myself, the net profit, the percentage for my executive assistant, and my charity work. Okay, and that is starting effective immediately, which means the end of August, I will be tracking it as stuff shifts today. I've already started tracking it. Let me see here. Inner Voice did not work out that way. I haven't made the 500 yet because, well, frankly, I haven't made a plug nickel on it. But the first 40% of the net profit will be split up. I've already figured out where it'll go. So I'll just add to that as I go along. Then I take a look at this. Now, where is the other sheet I was working on? Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Okay. So that's been dealt with. I've got to work out that side of it. But where it comes to the cost of it, what you do is you list off what all the different parts are that you require. And I'm going to break it down because I'm talking by month. And this is what I mean by you've got to stay on top of your finances. In order to be successful in this world, finances are a critical factor. Okay, if you're not paying attention to them, you're going to run into troubles. And that's just the reality behind it. So what I'm listing here is just all the different bits and pieces. My utilities, my transportation. There we are. And bearing in mind, because I run a small home-based business, I get a 10% tax break for income tax. I can claim 10% of it, of whatever I'm doing, for income tax. So what I'm doing here is I'm working out what 10% of the bill will be. And in that fashion, I'll know exactly what it's going to require for me to run the company. Okay, where is that? Rent, food, insurance, license. Gee, just about pull a blank on how to spell license. Not good. and then my printing costs. Now, bear in mind, in my way of looking at it, my printing costs include the cost for to get my editing done. Not the stuff I'm doing, but the stuff I'm getting somebody else to go over with me. I don't know, maybe I am a bit of a control freak. Because the way I look at it is this. In order for me to make things happen, I have to have my hand on the pulse. If you're going to run a business, and this applies to even if you're going to run just a household. Now, I shouldn't say just, because that is the most important job in existence, is running the household and raising the adults that you're bringing into this world, or that you're adopting, or that you're taking on. Okay, whatever it is. Setting up for the people coming up and giving them the tools to work with. That is the critical thing you have to look at, or that it would be wise to look at anyway. Now, in all fairness, the reason I call myself a spiritual guide is real simple. The tools that I talk about are the ones I personally use. Joe, how we doing? Oh, okay. That's an excellent question, Joe. Energy, it's energy out, energy in. Okay. In other words, what you put the effort into, that is what you are setting the stage for to draw back to you. If you desire your living room to get sorted out, if you don't get up and put the effort into moving the stuff and sorting out the living room, that living room is not going to get sorted out. If you desire to improve your social image, and let's say you're dressed like I am. Okay, I'm not dressed poorly, don't get me wrong. I make certain that clothes that I have, well, aside from the cuffs of my jeans, I make certain that when my clothes start getting holes, I replace them. Okay, I do my best to keep myself neat in appearance. Don't worry about this. I remove that when I get around to it. But what it boils down to is whatever you put your effort into, that's what you're going to encourage to come back to you. If you desire people to be honest with you, okay, then you must be honest with them. They may not like what you're saying, but if you're lying to them, you can bet they're going to lie back. If you're cheating people, you can bet they're going to turn around and find a way to cheat you. So the thing about energy out, energy in, is it literally boils down to, if you desire to be successful, that is exactly what you have to focus on, is reorganizing the energy in your life so that anything that is counteracting or is counterproductive towards that energy, towards that success, will hold you back. Okay, that's just the reality of it. Okay, so from that standpoint, from that side of it, you have to realize that when you're looking at making your life better, I'm not talking about making it better in somebody else's eyes. I'm talking about making it better in your eyes, in what you feel is right. And the only way that happens, regardless of how many people you talk to, is if you get up and actually put the effort into it. And that can be, by the way, like for instance, if I cannot do something, if I have a problem with my car, I don't have the skill set to go out and work on my car and make it work right. So my responsibility is get it to somebody that can, or get somebody to it that can do it. That's what I'm referring to about the energy out, energy in. What you put your effort into, that's what you're setting the stage for. It does not guarantee you'll get everything you're aiming for, as evidenced by the fact that virtually every one of the major corporations I've been dealing with have absolutely not done what they've said they were going to do. And this is the thing. One of the goals that I have is to go, okay, this is what I'm looking at doing. This is my goal. And therefore, I am going to take a look at it and go, I'm going to take a look at it and go, I tell you I'm doing this. This is what's happening. It's just that simple. And now I do have a very focused, like I've got a very solid picture in my own head about what I'm aiming for and how that's going to look. Okay, well, this is where a calculator comes in handy on occasion. Take that. Oh, what am I doing? I know what my rent is. I'm going, I got to calculate out. Let's see. I get 10%. My rent is $1,300, including my storage unit. So let's see. How much is 10% of $1,300? I think I can figure that out in my head. Okay. So we take a look at that. Oh, forgot that little detail. This is why I said I had to rework the numbers. Because where is my insurance? I worked it out yesterday. 10% of it anyway. License is okay, and that covers everything I require. In round, nice solid round numbers. Okay. Now the nice little part about it, from my perspective, is when you get an idea of what you're aiming for, I recommend very strongly get wherever you're working on your finances, get that organized first. Because knowing where your finances are is extremely necessary. Okay, now, the reason for putting, I put money aside for entertainment for my business, and here's why. If I'm meeting somebody for business, that is, and yes, it's a business meeting, but it's not something that goes towards running the business per se. It does go towards expanding it, absolutely. What you got? Okay, so giving myself lots of room to work with. I just reworked the numbers and I modified a few things, gave myself a little bit more running and room to work. But I've just worked the numbers out and I can run Inner Voice Enterprises for $550. So, and that's giving myself room to work. And I recommend you do exactly the same thing. Find out what it's going to cost you to run your house. What to do with it? Hate when I do that. Put a book down and forget what the heck I did with it. It is not where I belong, where it would fit over there. Now, why it isn't right where I had it, I don't know. My world is weird. So either my memory is shot to pieces or things just happen in a funny fashion for me. Now, this tells me what my profit sharing is and what my cost of expenses are. So it goes into this neat little folder, my corporate structure folder. I will be putting the policy book in there as well, so that I know exactly why I'm doing things. Okay, and that'll be one of the next things I work on. But this is the way my office runs. I end up doing several dozen things at the same time. Primarily because I have to. I think. Oh, yeah, that figures. I apologize for moving around a lot, but the reality is that's how I function. Besides that, if I sit too long, I used to sit an awful lot. Okay. The moment I started moving around, I ended up finding out something really neat. As soon as I started moving around and started burning a little more energy, number one, I don't get as stiff. And this is why it's recommended, even if you work at a desk, get up and move. Okay. It's good for the circulation. It's good for the blood pressure. It sure cuts down on the amount of stiffness you're dealing with. Okay. But this is why I say these are tools that I personally am using. In case you hadn't noticed, I don't sit still much, which for me works out rather nicely. Don't know how well it works out for everybody else. And absolutely, I do keep an eye on what's going on in the chat room at the same time, because sometimes I'll talk about doing something that is a little off kilter from what most people have looked at. I do not have any interest in running my business the same way that I've seen so many others run. Eventually, I will have the money to be able to start investing in different companies. Okay. Yes, I'm thinking in terms of a massive empire. I really am. I'm 59, but understand something very critical here. Colonel Sanders, the guy that built Kentucky Fried Chicken, my understanding is he didn't start that until he was 65. Okay. He is a force to contend with. Sadly, after he died, in my opinion, their quality of food went down. But that's just my personal opinion. They're still making a killing, which means they're still doing something right. I don't have to agree with every corporation. What I have to agree with is my business and the way I handle things. It's the same as you have your concern. You cannot control how other people behave. You cannot control how they are going to respond to what you're doing. The only thing you can control is how you behave and how you respond to other people's responses. Now, yes, we do all have freedom of choice. We all have free will. Okay, what you don't have freedom from is the consequences of your actions. Now, I postpone things, I put things on hold, okay, in order to help other people that were in need. This is an important thing. Okay, this is why I now have I've got this section of my business that says this is how I'm going to help. Okay, this is what I'm doing with it. Now, I'm a firm believer that we should assist those around us. We absolutely should. Okay, but the thing is, assisting those around you to your own detriment is a major problem for many of us, especially if you're of the mindset that they need help more than I do. That may be the case, but something to keep in mind. Figure out what it's going to cost you to run your house, because if you don't and you keep going out of your way to help people and to financially support people where you're not aware of what you require, you're going to run into troubles from the perspective of you're going to be the one requiring assistance. And that's just the reality of it. So what I'm working on right now, I just finished sorting out what it costs to run the business. Now it's a question of figuring out exactly what it costs to run my household. And I do believe it's gone up a little, but that's why I'm rerunning numbers. And again, when we're talking about you're running your household, okay, you look at your rent or your mortgage. It's the same thing in all fairness. You're either giving money to a landlord or you're giving it to the bank. Okay. Either way, you're still having to pay it monthly. So I'm looking at putting all of this down and figuring out what it costs me to actually operate my home. And as soon as I get that done, then I'll be able to go, okay, this is how I can handle this. So it really boils down to, I got to bring that up. It's not just 500. Food, insurance, money for savings. And yes, I do put money in for entertainment. Okay, because the thing people have to realize, you've got to remember that, yes, it's important to take care of the living expenses, but you've got to have some money for entertainment. Now, for me, I've made mistakes before. I don't have the same list of entertainments you do. Maybe you're a person that likes to go out. Maybe you're a person that likes to go out to the bar. Okay, set yourself a budget. In other words, this is how much money that I realistically require in order to have some enjoyment. Now, I will tell you, going out to the bar every night is just a flat out bad idea for a lot of reasons. I lived that life, by the way, years ago, and came to the conclusion that it was really a bad idea. So now what I'm doing right now is getting my bills down as far as what I absolutely require and I'm overstating them. Okay, to make sure that I know how much money I require. It also gives me enough room to work with. Cut that in 3 makes it, instead of 5, I need 600 there. I've got a loan for my vehicle, but in order to match that, I've got to make sure the money's in the bank. I've got to have that, or they'll take my money away, my car away from me. Kind of like you got to pay your rent, or they're going to take your house, or your mortgage. Take your pick. Okay, so I'm just rounding numbers off here. Insurance, we go for 100. Savings, we go for 100. And entertainment, what do we got? We got 4 weeks. We cut that. Now I like going out to the restaurant. I like going out to one restaurant in particular. So I have to make sure I've got the money to do that. 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 24, 20, 29. Whoop, did that wrong. 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 24, 28, 29, 30. Okay. Because I've overstated what I require, what I'm looking at here is 3,200. Now, last month I made 3,600. But now that I've got this, okay, and now that I've run the numbers again, okay, I will absolutely start pushing things. But understand that 32 that I require, okay, that includes $200 for entertainment. If something's going to give, that'll be the first one to go. Okay, I've got it set aside to put $100 a month away for savings. Now, the reality is I probably won't be putting that much away. So this is a rough guideline. This is not concrete. And it's the same with running your house. Overstate what you require. Because the reality is if you overstate what you require, then you're aiming above what you require. If you don't make it, you're still covered. Okay, now the reason I've had to bring my price up is because I figured I better get a handle on it. And that really boils down to what kind of money am I going to require in order to get ahead, in order to drive my numbers up. And now that I've got this is simply a question of standing on it. Okay. So we just put this, because the home and the business are so tightly linked. Okay. I'm just going to put this in with my corporate superstructure. Because the reality is, this is part of the way my world works. Do I find it works well? Overall, as long as I stay focused on it, the answer is yes. If I don't stay focused on it, we're in trouble. But you'll notice I picked the book up, put it where I need it, where I require it. Right. Put it where I require it. And then eliminate it. Oh, that was the other thing. And that can go on the back of that sheet simply because it keeps it where it needs to be. Yes, this could absolutely all be done on a computer. Frankly, I find I lose far fewer things. Okay. If, I find I lose far fewer things when I am looking at it and going, it's on paper. There it is. Okay. But then again, I'm a dinosaur. Okay. And the other thing that I'm looking at here, and I've already got the forms, the pictures up here, or more to the point, races of the worlds. So I'm just looking down here, and I'm looking for the reptilian ones. Okay, so the next set. Okay. This is always nice. What have we got here? That was, that's the list that I'm working on right now. This one here. We will deal with these are all reptilians I've got to work on for the pictures for the races of the worlds. Chitwari, this Rosazians. The Tormenon. Already got the Kamalians. So we desire the Teklex here. I was recently talking to somebody in a lot more detail about the reptilians that I've dealt with. Right. So this really, and what was the other one? Way down at the other end. Zeron or the Xenon, one of the two. So we scroll all the way down here. That was not very nice. Okay, Talons are... Where are we here? Human. Oh, yeah. No, Talon are definitely not reptilian. I am looking for... Where are we? Way down here. Vulcans, the Watchers. There we go. Xenon. No, Xenon are really annoying little individuals on occasion. That's the one I was looking for, the Zotar. Zotar are the geckoids. So there we have the list of 5 that I've got to deal with. Those are the descriptions I've got pulled together to make absolutely certain I get them to my artist. Because let's just take a peek at that. For those of you that are into that side of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, I've still got a lot more than I thought I did. 22, 23, 24, 25. Those are done. Where are we here? 26, and I know I've got some of these done. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 33. So yeah. And I know I've got a number that I haven't put in here. That's the other thing I gotta get set here is set the pictures for races of the world. Move it in. Like, move them into position. That's on my list of things to get done. Because it's absolutely imperative. 10, 25, 50, 75, 100, 250. What I'm doing is laying out my word of mouth tracking, the advertising path that I use there. And the reason for that is, again, by knowing what I'm looking at, I can actually get things moving in the right direction and make them happen the way I desire them to, not the way anybody else does. Now, why am I doing this? Again, I'm building an empire where I take into consideration the people that are actually involved. I figured out how to run a company where to be specific, how to run a restaurant where I will make money, the staff will make money, and the customers who are coming in will make money. And I know that sounds absolutely bizarre, but the reality is money sitting in your bank isn't doing you any good at all. Okay. It does a staggering amount for the bank. But money makes money, and money grows, okay, by you putting it to use, not by you overextending it. And that's just the reality of it. So what I'm looking at here, 5,000. I'm looking right now. I'm setting things up, so I know what I'm dealing with. Where it comes to monthly income. Now get this. At this point, where are we here? 18, 20, 23, 25, 28. In all fairness, Timmy, it can be. I mean, I'm sitting on so much information. When I was a child, I was diagnosed mentally retarded. Why they put me into a course in theoretical genetics when I was in grade 8, I have no idea. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the information I'm sitting on going, this has to be put to use. Now, if I, as an individual, can make this work, then you, as an individual, can use the exact same tools and make it work, which is why this little book here, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. This gives you an idea how simple it is to do. That's the entirety of the book. I think it's got 20 pages in it or something like that. But this is the information that I put to use to take my life from where it was and put it to where I desire it to be. 22 pages. That's the backbone of how I changed my life. And these same tools will work for you. I've literally sold hundreds of these. Okay. But these in Canada and the US, okay, including shipping, I can sell these for $20. Okay. And of course I use PayPal for my payments. Right. I use PayPal. The email I use that's tied to PayPal is innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca. That's how you get a hold of it. And when I've got a number of these in stock, and as soon as I start to run low, I will simply go out and order another batch, which is why in my cost of printing, I've set it up so that I've got the money to do it. Now, I've got just enough room here to do one more line. So, now I've worked out this profit and this referral and the advertising pace, if you will. Okay. Based on a sliding scale, but I've got it solidly written down here. Okay, but get this. I've worked it out now. Right now, I made $3,600 last month. Now, for me to run my own home, okay, cost me 3,200. Okay, I made 36. And that's all I made. Now here I am talking about building an empire. Okay, I've worked out the sliding scale I require up to 75,000 a month. Okay, now if you think about that, at 70, whoops, that was wrong. At 75,000 a month times 12 months, that means I've already worked it out on paper the easy way at $900,000 a year. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just making $40,000. It's going to take me some time to get here. But by getting focused on, with the amount of information I'm sitting on, okay, somebody sent me a photo one day and says, can you tell me what this thing is? It's an image I was downloaded. It was something I got told to build. He says, but nobody can identify it, and I can't get any readings of it. I took one look at the thing and went, start looking for magnetic resonance. He goes, it isn't powered. I says, I don't care. I says, you're looking for, the reason you can't find the power is you're looking for electricity. Don't. Okay. Well, he went and tested it for magnetic resonance. Comes back to me and goes, how did you spot that? I said, I've seen it before. Okay. I was talking to somebody one day about a star drive. Okay. And apparently they don't teach it very well, because she had her master in, at least not in my opinion, she had her master's in rocketry and astrophysics and barely understood what I was getting at. Now, to me, this is kind of an odd setup. But if anybody, if we look at it, when it comes to running your house, to making things work properly, okay, you have to realize that energy out, energy in does apply to this. If you desire something to happen, okay, you've got to put the effort into it. It's just that simple. You cannot rely on other people to put the effort in. Okay. If you're not happy with the effort with the results you're getting, then it's because you're doing something ineffectively, not because somebody else is. The mistake I've made, okay, has been quite seriously with the mistakes I've made were literally in striving to trust that other people are going to actually do what they claim. And you know what I found? Most people, sad to say, that I've run into don't. And here's the kicker to it. Okay, I'm still a firm believer that 95% of the people out there are decent people trying to make things better. I really am. Unfortunately, what I'm seeing is so many people are caught up in fear, in immediate gratification. The plan I've got in place here is going to take a long time to get to. Now, I don't think I closed that down. Maybe I did. Nope, I did not. I just hit it. There we go. So when I look at this, I can take, nope, that I'm working on. That I'm utilizing. This one, on the other hand, is a scrap of paper I can work with. So, if I wander over here and just take a look at what I've got, where are we here? The different accounts that I'm actually striving to work at. I'm just marking them down from the other side of the room, so my apologies. Well, no, in all honesty, it's really not an apology thing. It's a question of, this is how my business actually works. This is how my life actually goes. What do we got? All I'm doing right now is marking down what I had at the beginning of the month to make sure that I'm at least getting above that by the end of it. And that's going to take some challenge, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge at this point. So all I'm doing is just marking down so I can come back over there and take a look at it. Okay, now that that's been done, okay. Yeah, I'm not exactly, because I'm not doing anything. I don't play video games, and let's face it, I'm just not an overly, shall we say, interesting speaker by any functional stretch in my eyes. But my hope is that by putting this information out and by going, okay, this is how I'm operating things, by doing that, maybe, just maybe, it'll clue something in for somebody that they can actually get their own head on straight. Okay, so what I've got here, where are we? I do believe I'm going to run into an interesting problem getting things done, because it depends on how much money comes in. But we'll take a look at that. And where is the minimum? Minimum count is at... Okay, that ought to be entertaining. Right now, I'm rather behind the 8 ball, so let's just see if we can actually make this happen. 1235.79 plus. Now that's what I've got sitting there right now, which is not great. But let's see, we go minus 2,400. Now I'm just removing the what I used to have, and I'll find out how far behind the 8 ball I am. That's going to be tight. Okay, so I'm definitely behind the 8 ball, but is it doable? Quite frankly, yeah. Will I manage to do it? That sort of depends. Well, I appreciate that, Timmy. The reality is I listen to myself going, I figure I've got this stuff that I'm dealing with. And if I'm dealing with it, some people will be. The thing is, I look at the way businesses are run today, and I can walk in. I walked into a restaurant one day that billed themselves as 5-star. Now, understanding, I grew up, my first job was minor maintenance in a country club. And I walked into this place. The first thing I noticed, now they called themselves 5-star. I walked into the restaurant, and the first thing I noticed was half the pot lights were out. They were burnt out. And I'm thinking, like, you call that 5-star? Not even close, right? Then I got up to the podium where you check in, where you get your seating. And I noticed that their floor plan was masking taped to the top of their podium. Now, this is what they called 5-star. Okay. Now, I went to another restaurant. Now, that one was here locally. Went to another restaurant back east that billed themselves as 5-star. And I'll tell you, I walked in. The place was absolutely immaculate. The waiters were absolutely spectacular. And I ordered elk. Well, I kid you not, the elk melted in my mouth. Like that place, the only reason I wouldn't go back to it is because I took one person, we had one drink each. And other than that, we just had dinner. But that particular restaurant, which is the Canoe in Toronto, at the top of the CN Tower, the treatment up there was absolutely spectacular. The problem with it was I went up there and for just the two of us, for just dinner and one drink each, it literally cost us $300. Now, there is no way I'm going back up there on my own. There are other five-star restaurants that I'm sure exist that I don't have to pay that kind of money for. It was an experience. It was something I had said I desired to do. So I went and did it. And it's the same with you. This is why I say, get a goal in your mind. What do you desire to accomplish? For me, I desired to get my money working right. My office is set up exactly the way I desire it right now. That's the stuff I'm dealing with there. Let's see. That's the skin. That's the races I need that I require the pictures for. That I've got to send on. That I've got to send on to my artist that's working on them. Okay. And once I get that done, then of course I've got a couple of other little details to deal with. Okay, double check, make sure I've got things in order. But you're sitting there looking at your life, if you personally are not content with the way your life is going, it's time for you to get up and move. Okay, now I am currently writing, personally, 14 books at the same time, like as in writing some in each one of them. Okay, as well as expanding 4 others, all simultaneously. Okay, and these are from different genres. Well, most of them. Correction, most of them are the same storyline. The Yldrbac Chronicles, I'm writing all of the books at once. Okay, so because they're interlocked with each other. So I've started pushing that. Yesterday I managed to get an extra, 7 pages written between them. Because of the fact, like I've got all these storylines on the go that are all interlocked. Okay. And of course, now I've taken on that other little goal of running a game, running a Dungeons and Dragons game, a tabletop in town here. Okay, in all fairness, in my own home. But this was just something, the thing is, I'm using that to get the template to lay out part of the storyline. Terry, how you doing? I'm doing my best. I'm glad you found us again. The reality is that I've had problems going live. I was doing only on Saturday morning. Right. But because right now I'm working on a system, my computer is telling me I don't have a camera. Okay. But here I am. So I do have a friend of mine that I've got contact. And, I've got a friend that's going to take a look at the computer and find out why I've got a camera but don't have a camera at the same time. What I'm looking at here, the reason I decided to do it this way is I can't do the pre-recordings. So I figure, okay, I get up and get mobile. I come on the air to do the journey. And I decided that if I'm doing it, I may just as well work in the office while I'm doing it, because I don't sit still well at the best of times. Okay, that was necessary. That is there. Okay, I think that's all the information I need. This is for a phone call I have to make. And sadly, I don't have the records that I really desired to have, but so be it. Okay, they're not doing their job, period. So what I've decided is I am going to build this empire. There is no question there. I'm going to build the empire. I've already got things laid out. By the end of this month, I'll know exactly how much money I'm working on. Now, the idea is to get my books to start making better money than what they have been. And this is why I've got the website up and running. I'm going to be putting 2 other websites. I'm going to be improving my Facebook page. And I've got a chap that's going to set an actual website up for the business. Okay. It's time for me to become visible. I was reclusive for the last 10 years, really. So, of course, when everything shut down, when everybody went into lockdown, stay home, stay away from people, and drink warm liquids. I'm like, I don't like going out of the house to start with. I don't like going out and seeing a whole pile of people. And you want me to stay home and drink warm liquids? I got a 30-cup urn. I used to have a 30-cup urn. The poor thing died. But to the best of my knowledge, I'm the only person that I've ever heard of where a nutritionist actually turned around and said, drink all the coffee you want, because of the fact that I drink very weak coffee. The average person makes a 10 to 12 cup pot with 4 tablespoons of sugar, 4 tablespoons of coffee. Okay, myself, I put 1 in, which really is because I don't like the flavor of chlorine. So I told my nutritionist this, and she looks at me and she goes, you're flavoring your water. She says, drink all the coffee at that strength you desire. Carry on. Okay. And because of that, I end up drinking a staggering amount. I've already gone through, this is my second, we'll call this my second cup. But understand, this cup will hold 3 of yours. Well, depending on what your cup is. So if you think in terms of that would make what I've gone through so far this morning is 4 cups of coffee. Okay. Now, the funny part about it is I can drink another one of those, roll over, and go to sleep if I really choose to. But as soon as I realized just the other day, it's like I was not making headway. I wasn't getting things done the way I desired them to. Chris, welcome back. The neat part about it, I'm glad you got back here. I haven't had to go and refill my coffee. One of the advantages of having that size coffee cup. Now, what is this? Oh, this one here is a list of medications and not medications, but a list of bacterium and other herbs and what have you that is in a product that I'm looking at, that I've ordered. I'm waiting for it to arrive. Okay, but I've got my executive assistant researching the different bacteria and what have you, to make sure that the information they gave me, as far as we can tell, is right. The last time I tried a medication that was ordered over the internet, all the research was great. And then I got the stuff. I took it for about a week and had a heart attack, so I threw the bottle out. This stuff I've ordered is to repair my teeth. Because of the fact I cannot go into a hospital or a dentist, I've got to find a different way to put things back together. And I'll take any bonus I can get. Okay, but I'm sort of braced for it from the standpoint of, okay, it arrives. Now we start using it and see what happens. Right? If it causes a heart attack, we throw it out. The reality is, I had a company years ago go, we'd like to do your life story, and here's the contract for it. And I looked at them and went, not going to happen. Right? Because what they offered it was not what I was looking at. And the guy goes, but you don't understand the money you're turning down. I turned to the guy, I said, I understand fully the money I'm turning down. What I'm not turning and what I'm doing, what you don't get is how little the money matters to me. And Chris, I do appreciate that. I will absolutely be careful. Okay, I did a lot of the research. I watched the information that was there, and I'm fully aware that what they put on an ad, I'm fully aware they're not telling you the drawbacks. Okay, they're telling you this is the information. The advantage I've got from that standpoint is I look at it, if my instincts say this is garbage, right, I won't even look at it, no matter how much information is there. When I bought my car, I walked onto the lot, dressed something similar to this. For all I know, it might have been the same shirt. I looked at that and walked onto the car lot and I went, okay, that's the car I want. This is what I'm expecting you to ask for. That's not going to happen. You're going to come down to this price or I'm not buying. So they turned around and surprised the heck out of me. They gave me it at the price I desired. Doesn't work the same way in restaurants very well. I get asked, would you like the bill? I'm like, no, definitely not. I hear people go, can you bring me the bill? I'm like, would you take the bill to somebody else? Because, I'm not proud from that standpoint. It's like, okay, yes, I like the food. Yes, I'll pay for it. I never go into a restaurant if I don't have the money to pay for it. But at the same time, I'm not about to tell somebody, yeah, absolutely, I want to pay for it. I remember walking into a gas station one day, and the girl looks at me, and she goes, "Can I help? How can I help you?" I says, "Pay off my credit card." And she goes, "Pardon?" I says, "Well, it would help." "Well, I can't do that." I says, "You can so. You've got a credit card. You punch your numbers in, you pay the bill. All you do is take my credit card, punch the numbers in, and pay that bill. You can do it fine, and that would really help." For some weird reason, she didn't actually take me up on that. Now, I've got the other thing I'm working on today with the books that I'm working with, right? With the Yldrbac Chronicles, I've got a fight scene that I'm working on today. Okay, that is 15-1 odds. Well, I appreciate that, Terry. I've actually done that for people. I walked into a restaurant one day, and this is one of those things that I will be using the charity money for. The charity percentage of my income is I'll walk into a restaurant, and I've done it multiple times. I walk in and go, okay, see that table there? I'm picking up the bill. Don't care what the person's income is. Because in all fairness, like it was pointed out to me, to a chap that had way more money than I've ever seen. Okay. And like he said, a dollar is a dollar, no matter how much money you've got. So I go into a family style restaurant, and if I've got the money to do it, it's like I'm footing the bill for that one. This is what's going to happen with the charity with the charity money I'm putting aside. And like I said, for me to run my business is going to run me $550. Okay, so everything I make over that, I will be taking 10% of that will be going to charity. Okay. Now that's from the business. Now the reality is it cost me $3,200 to run my house. And because I'm a firm believer that charity is, it starts at home. In other words, take care of yourself first. Okay. That's the exact point. The reality is, Terry, when you do that, okay, you set up a pattern. So many people are like, me. What can I get? And I'm the same way. I do like the idea of what can I get? Absolutely. But here's the thing. Up until the beginning of May, I was charging $180 because I'd done the same stupid thing that other people have done. I was charging $180 an hour for my consulting fees. But I got thinking about it back in May, and at the beginning of May, where everybody else is raising their prices. I went from $180 for my consulting fees and dropped it to $90. Okay, I just sheared it off and went, that'll work. Now, the reality of it is that by doing that, okay, it makes it more accessible to other people. But when I look at the restaurant, now that I know what I'm doing, now that I've got the numbers in front of me, let's see, it's last month. Now, here's the thing. Last month, I made $3,600. Okay, I only require $3,200. Using that math, that leaves me $400 in excess. 10% of that means I've got enough money to pay for one table at the restaurant once next month. The following month. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because in a restaurant or in a fast food, I love that, Terry. And I don't go through drive-through on the whole. I've been through drive-through in the last 10 years, probably twice. Right. But then in the last 10 years, I haven't had a car until 2 months ago. I didn't have a car that the driver's window would roll down. But no, it's the same idea. You do that, you make that person feel really good. Even if it's only that one meal can make such a difference in somebody's life. Whether they've got a lot of money or they don't have a lot of money, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's just an issue and what I usually do is I pay the bill and leave, right? Because I'm paying at the end of my day. At the end of my meal, it's like, okay, I'm taking that bill and that one. But when they go to pay their bill, it's like, what do you mean it's already paid for? I did this in, what was it? Be probably since the last time I had the money to do it was 5 years ago. Where are we? 22, 14? Nope. 8 years ago now, which gives you an idea what things have been like. Okay. But at Christmas time, I took 5 Christmas cards, put $20 cash in them, and all I wrote in the Christmas card was Merry Christmas from Inner Voice Enterprises. Put $20 cash in each one, and went through them all and went Merry Christmas and handed them a card and walked off. Okay. And just let it go that way. See, that's the neat part for me, Joe. I can drink an urn of coffee, roll over, and go to sleep. Of course, it does have that annoying problem of waking up in the middle of the night having to go to the washroom, but it's not a question of the caffeine for me. I mean, it's kind of comical. My son will drink a Monster drink, and it picks his energy right up. I drink a Monster drink, it'll knock me out in less than 5 minutes. It's a great knockout drink. But then my system works really, really backwards. But when I talk about do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, okay, it saves me a lot of hassles. I only have to remember 3 laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others, and do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Okay. Question for you there, Terry, because I've done this before. I actually managed to. I tell people I can sleep through anything. I actually ended up falling asleep standing up in the middle of a parking lot waiting for a bus one day. I got to hear this one, Chris. I've got some twisted outlooks on other ways I look at things. The nice part about it is I do look forward to seeing which law it is you follow. When I'm writing, I write very violently, very graphically, which is why it's going to take me a while to write this next section. I've got a section in, I think it's in book 3. I'm writing it. No, it'll be in book 1, maybe. Might be book 1. Either book 1 or book 2. Book 1 does that. No, it'll be the beginning of book 2. I'm writing a section right now that is 15 to 1. Okay. And bearing in mind I tend to do things in a very graphic fashion. Okay. Now understand, I personally am a pacifist. And that I absolutely agree with. I mean, the reality is, Chris, if you figure something that works, okay, absolutely do it. Okay. But keep the other 3 laws in mind. Okay. Once you know how something comes together, whether or not you can pull it off, this sort of thing. I saw a t-shirt one day that was priceless. Right. And it said, the t-shirt said, I can see that, my tombstone is likely to say, well, dang, that didn't work. I'm not quite that suicidal, but I like the way it thinks. It's like the other one I saw, and I have come to the conclusion, like this shirt here, this one that says Sweet Maria. This is the last that I know. She's a waitress right now, but she has spent 10 years of her life building her dream. And this is why I am intending on supporting her as best I can. Okay, she spent 10 years of her life focusing on getting into the MMA. Okay. Yeah, I used to get... what I tend to do right now, Terry, personally, is I'll get I went to sleep last night about 1 o'clock. I was back up at 5 this morning. Right. And I'll be on the go now. I may well get an hour's nap in the afternoon, depending on how things go. But the way the energy is running right now, the odds are I won't slow down much until tomorrow. But no, when I'm writing the story, when I look at this, and it took me a while with Sweet Maria. Okay, she's just getting into the MMA. She's breaking into it. But like so many people, she goes, I want to do this. I don't want help from people. And I'm like, yeah, you require it though. Now, for me, it's this simple. Okay, I've always enjoyed the idea of helping other people. Now I figured out a way that financially I could pull it off. Now, you remember that thing I said that I require $3,200 to be able to run my house? That's very much the case. But since I made 36 last month, and where are we here? Gotta go back and bring this. My mouse is not cooperating. That's always fun. Okay, so when I look at this right now, income, where are we here? I love it when computers lag. It happens to me so often. Okay. Now, if that comes in, that'll be 1826. Yeah. If I do that again, that'll be 18, 26, 34, no, 31, 33. I'll make the 32 without a problem. Yeah. 18, 26. Another 2 is 28. Another 5 is 33. So yeah, that 32 that I require, I'll break. But the key from my standpoint now, the reality is my whole office is paranormal. But the answer to your question is not specifically yet. I'm working on it. But the reality for me is there isn't a thing in my life that isn't paranormal. So what I've got, like this, these books here, where are they? There we go. I've got moved new ones in. But this is where I've got my stack of Races of the Worlds. This is why I say, when somebody orders one, I just walk over to my bookshelf and get it. And here's the thing, the Yldrbac Chronicles, they cover a lot of the paranormal ideas. Okay. I've got a bunch of stuff here I'm still striving to sort out. But if you're asking, do I have a spot for crystals? The closest thing to that, if you look up here, these are all dragons. Okay, that's the dragon section I've got. I've got more dragons down back that I'll be bringing. You know, I'm a bit dense. I've got a shelf in back that I had to take off the wall that used to hold most of my smaller dragons. And I'm looking at it going, I've got to move it someplace because I didn't have the room in the bedroom anymore. But you've just made a really good point there, Joe. I've got a shelf that I can actually put up in the wall, on the wall. I just have to decide whether or not I'm going to put it up really high. That's actually a good place for it. The door doesn't get to it. If you look back over there, this sign here, this little sign here, this is what keeps me focused at this point. Okay. Now, I'm looking at it going, I made 3,600 last month. Okay. And here I am talking about building an empire, building a chain, setting up a way of putting out charity. And the only thing I can tell people, because somebody sooner or later is going to ask, how can they help? Right? I will not be ever giving out tax receipts. It will never happen. And I know that for a certainty because the moment somebody says, I'll give you this, but I need a tax receipt, you're not doing it for charity. You're doing it for your own good. Right? But I will guarantee any money that gets turned over to me to be used in that fashion will be used 100% for that purpose. Like I said, will I ever have a board of directors? Never. Because the board of directors, from what I've seen, create way too many problems. Okay. But you do have a point. The other thing I should look at here, if I don't have the room there, but as I get these shelves, these ones set beside me, that would actually be an excellent idea. See, I've got a crystal ball that is literally, it's about that big. Okay, it'll fit about there. But if I take this one shelf that I haven't put to use, or more to the point that I haven't absolutely identified yet, having a spot that is set aside for the metaphysical and aside set up, like I've got it set up for the finances. I've got my cash box down below this. This thing here, by the way, is the fan that I keep going when I require it. It's not running right now because it's still cool out. But I do agree with you, Joe. Sometime today, I'll get that sorted out. Okay, as in get it picked out that's what I'm going to look at. Okay, but I've got a number of projects on the go. And the whole catch is take a look at the way the energy in your house is running. If you're not content with something in it, if you're not content with everything in it, whatever you're not content with, that's what you turn around and start shifting gears on. Through the path of it. I've got, like I said, I use these little figures. I'll be painting them. I'll be painting a bunch of them today. Okay. But I've got a battle set up over here that is out of sight of the video because frankly I didn't have room for it. What I may end up doing, possibly, is setting up a table so I can lay out proper battle scenes for when I'm writing. Because I'll tell you, trying to keep track of how many people when I'm dealing with 16 combatants is a bit of a challenge. But that's why I've got the little figures. That and the fact I paint them. Oh, this guy isn't perfect. This is the one that I'm going to. This is the character I'm going to use for this for the protagonist. Okay, and he is from an earlier book. In all fairness, this chap I'm using, he doesn't have the hooded cloak I was hoping for, but we'll have to improvise. Okay, simply because he's the closest I've got. I don't think I've got a better one for him. But let's just take a quick peek and see what we've got. Because I need somebody that's got a staff, not anything else. You know, this is what I mean by I paint these things. Hey, that guy will work better. Staff isn't perfect, but it'll work. Okay. This gentleman, I will use, except for the fact that I'll have to change the color of his outfit. But I can work with that. What is that? See, this shows him carrying a staff. He's wearing a hooded cloak. But the way I described it in the book is he's wearing a black cloak. So what I'll do is, and that actually works really well. Take this character. Now, right now, he's painted purple. Okay, but I'll get out the black paint and paint him. And this will become the character that I'm working with. That works out beautifully. This is what I mean by I get a little twisted around in circles here. But 15 to 1 odds against this chap. Okay. Now, this gentleman in the storyline is Billion Belenderos. Okay. But this is coming from book 1. Now, when I said that in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I'm writing them where I do cover the metaphysical side. This particular character is the one that down the road in Birth of the Wolfpack becomes Jeremiah Wolfrod. Okay. Speaking of which, because of trying to get things done, I ended up with an added email address. Okay. And I know it works because I'm getting information. I'm getting emails from, well, I'm getting a lot of spam emails, but I'm also getting them from classmates.com. Okay, and I'm just curious whether it got anything in here yet. Gee, I wish this thing did not drag so much. I don't need to be in trash. I need into the inbox. And the sad part is, I'm waiting for an email from a corporation that is still not coming forth with it. You know, this is absolutely appalling in my eyes. This is why I tell people, when you order a book, yes, I do give myself 3 business days to get it mailed out because I know the way my schedule goes. But I've got the money set aside to ship books out. I've got the books here. Okay, but I have to go down to the post office. And my schedule can get a little screwy. I do my best to get it out within the first day. You know, I just sent one off. I sold another one of Yldrbac, The End of an Epoch, which is the second book in the series that's out. Okay, got an order out of England, but I will tell you the cost of shipping to England is prohibitive. Okay, because it cost me to ship in Canada and the continental US cost me $25. Okay. This costs $25. Now I sell it for $40. Okay. And then I add the shipping to it because I cannot afford to ship it without it. Otherwise I can't afford to print them at all. But to send this, well, in all fairness, the one I just sent to England was this one. Okay. To ship that to England, you know, to Great Britain, cost me $50 in shipping. Okay, so it's absolutely insane. This is why I'm looking for an active distributor. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Joe. The funny thing is, most of the fighters that you actually see, most of the female MMA fighters look really tough. Okay, as in they've got a physique that says this is a hard person. I'll tell you, if you watch the MMA, you know, right now Right now, Maria is working with Invicta Promotions, and if you catch her, okay, you'll notice something really remarkable. This is a woman that can carry a proper evening dress and look right at home in it. Okay, she doesn't have that hard edge to her, that hard physical edge. She is. You don't want to see what. Well, you do want to see what her backhand looks like. I mean, would I want to get into a fight with her? No. Funny part is, and this is the way I work when it comes to writing. Okay, I actually got her permission to include a rendition of her personally in the Yldrbac Chronicles, right to the point of getting her permission to include what they call her, aka Sweet Maria. Okay, so she actually is in the Yldrbac Chronicles. Most of the people that I've written in there, I've either personally met or had experience with. Okay, or they're characters that have been built for gaming. But no, I watch some of these women and it's like, you don't want to set these people off. I mean, picture, if you will, Maria works in a restaurant. Now, how well is this going to go if somebody tries to actually take the restaurant? Tries to rob the restaurant. Is this going to go well for the robber? Probably not. Yeah. That's the thing. If you're going to date somebody that is an MMA fighter, you have to be able to keep up with them, and you've got to understand that's where their dedication is. Like for me, for my other half to accept what I'm doing, she had to realize that this is where my focus is. Okay. When you're looking for a partner, find somebody that you are compatible with, that the two of you complement each other, like you work together, not you sit there saying, oh, you're so nice. Okay. I find so many people, they go, I'm looking for the perfect person. And it's like, well, perfect is great. But make sure that, the reality I found with people is this: people and things are not perfect because of what they are. They are perfect because they are the way they are to you. It's like art is not, art isn't necessarily beautiful, or more to the point, beautiful art doesn't necessarily last. It doesn't last because it's beautiful. It's beautiful because it lasts. Okay, and when it was being talked about earlier, this idea of looking out the window and seeing fireflies. Okay, I look out the window when I see rain and I'm going, now there's a really neat sight. You watch sheet lightning go off, it looks absolutely fantastic. But it really boils down to when it helps you feel better, this is the thing to look at. For me, it's a question of, okay, am I content with the way my world is going? On the whole, yes. Okay, am I happy with the way the world is going? On the whole, not at all. I'm watching people walk down really, really black paths, and they seem to be totally oblivious to it. These things are really handy, okay, but they are not the be-all and end-all. And, the reality is when people try and contact me, I tell them flat out, especially since it's now available. If you can contact me, if I can see who you are, I'm much more likely to deal with you. Okay. I do have my phone number posted, but here's the kicker to it. Okay. If a number comes in and it says unknown, the odds are I'm not going to answer it. Okay. I do try and answer it, but if you're expecting me to just jump on things, I get so many scam calls where people phone up and say, "Oh, your SIN number has been canceled." Which, for the people in the States, our SIN number, social insurance number, is the same as your SSI number, your social security number. Okay. And I get so many scams where people phone me up and say, yours has been canceled. I'm like, great, so I don't have to pay taxes anymore? This is a bonus. But I'm actually setting to, I've got to get that set up. I've got to phone my phone company today and cancel my landline because I've got one person that phones me periodically on it, right? And I've got another landline I can't cancel anyway. But other than that, all I get is scam calls. And I just don't have an interest in them. Okay, so what I'm looking at this point is I've got to phone them up. I'm seriously considering, I'm going to look at the price of it. I may just get canceled and get cable for my son because he likes the sports nets and what have you. So I might just get that for him. I'm just tired of paying for a phone that all I'm getting is scam calls on. I don't see the financial practicality of keeping it. But, if you're taking a look at your world, the reality of it is that you've got to pick a direction that you personally desire your life to shift to, or more to the point, shift away from. And the reason I put it that way is if you're not content with the way your world is, make the alterations to it. Talk to who you have to, get the tools you have to. Okay. When it comes to this, I keep grabbing the wrong one first. This particular book, that is literally the backbone of how I took my life from being on the edge of living on the street to having, right now, I've got sitting in the bank 2 months rent. 2 months living expenses sitting in the bank. I used to be one paycheck away from living on the street. But it was using the tools in that book to really get myself turned around that made all the difference in the world. Okay, and the reason I know it works because I personally use it. And now what it boils down to is going, okay, how am I going to make things happen? How am I going to change my world in such a way that other people may be able to benefit from what I've seen happen? That's just the reality behind it. Because if what I've gone through can help even one, what do we got here? Oh, that's because I'm not looking at the right thing. Yeah, I get these wonderful little odds and ends. But no, if the mess that I've gone through, if the struggles I've gone through, if pointing them out to somebody will help them will help one of you avoid the same struggles that I went through, then I'm doing my job right. Okay. I certainly cannot fix things for other people. Your success is in your hands. But I can tell you, you don't have to know where you're heading. You have to know where you're standing and whether or not you're content with the way your life is. It's not up to me. Okay, it really isn't. Whether you're happy with your life, I cannot make your life better. I can certainly help make your day a little brighter. But like I tell people, I make everybody I meet happy. Some people by showing up, most of them by leaving. Okay, now from my standpoint, I just look at it going, I'm just being me. And I'm looking at the world going, people are being taught, number one, fear everything about you, wait for somebody else to fix the problem, and blame anybody available. Blame them for your miscalculations. Now, I am a firm believer that there is such a thing as true ignorance. Okay, and true ignorance to me means for whatever reason you just haven't got the message. You haven't pieced it together. Like where it comes to working on cars, I've got what I call true ignorance. I have tried to wrap my brain around them. It hasn't worked very effectively. And yet, I can sit here and I can write simultaneously 14 books, expand 4 others, and I've got another 12 in queue. Okay, that are ready to go, that I'm writing pieces on. Okay, I'm just not focusing on them right now. So I'm looking at it now, and I'm going to go through this one. Get it again. Oh, it's over there. I am going to go through this. Right, double check, make sure I've got it all organized and written properly. And then really start pushing the side of it, because that happens to be the backbone of how to take your life and turn it in, from what I've experienced, and turn it into the life you desire it to be. Now, this particular one, okay, it does the same thing with business. Okay, now I've got another one that I'm just starting to work on, okay, that deals with success. Okay, and it doesn't have to be a great big thick book. This is why I get a kick out of it with people. Let's write this huge book on how to become successful. You know, I read Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal, and it's like this thick. Okay, and what he wrote in it, I read it cover to cover. Okay, but what he wrote in it could have been written, quite frankly, in a quarter of pages. Now, the man had a, and don't get me wrong, I know what the guy's like from a social standpoint, but where it came to not ethics, but success in his eyes, he does have a very definitive, very simple way of looking at the world. I personally like the way that Colonel Sanders did it. He turned around, and at 65 years old, he goes, I'm going to open my own restaurant, my own chicken restaurant. At 65, he opens it up, from my understanding. Okay, 4 months later, because the people wouldn't do exactly what he said, the way he said to do it, he closed the doors. Now, I suspect he opened them under a different name, but a month later, he opened up another restaurant and insisted that everybody do it his way. Now he's a household name. Well, I'm looking at building an empire that is capable of helping other people without it costing other people. Like when I'm talking about money coming in that I put towards charity, 100% of that will go to the charity. Okay, none of it will be picked up by people making donations. I've got my executive assistant is looking into it. Okay, is looking into seeing how I can set it up properly so donations can come in. Now, as far as I understand it, there's nothing stopping people from saying, here, put this towards it. And no, I'm not going to be giving receipts to people, ever. Okay, because in my eyes, it's simple. If you're asking for a receipt, you're looking for a tax deduction. It's got nothing to do with the charitable side of it. Okay, so I just won't do it. It's like I will never run a nonprofit organization. Okay, good morning, Carl. How you doing? Caught us right at the end here. As a matter of fact, really right at the end, because I've got things I've got to get done. Just to let you know, Carl, I got on here at about 6:30, and it seems that's about what I'm looking at doing at this point, because I don't have a functional camera. My computer says I don't have a camera. So since I can't test it, I've just decided I'm going to go live and see what happens. So I will likely be back on again tomorrow. I'm trying to get into a routine, and this seems to be working. It's only been a couple of days, but we'll see. In the meantime, people, thank you so much for joining me. Really glad you dropped in. Okay, and I will be back again. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.